What's going on YouTube? It's Tej back again with another video, and today I'm giving you my Week 12 of the NFL season picks for the entire week of games. Going to talk a little against the spread and some betting talk as well, but hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you do, hit that like button, it would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, want to see more football content in your life, hit that big red subscribe button. Got plenty more videos on the way, and comment your picks for the week down in the comment section. Give me some upset picks too, and then also some betting tips, some things that you're looking forward to with this week, and maybe some picks you're throwing some money on. That'd be always an interesting conversation. But first and foremost, you're seeing this video on Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving everybody. I hope you all get to enjoy whatever you're doing today, whether it's just watching football or if it's eating food with the family or hanging out with friends, whatever the case may be. Hopefully it's a very enjoyable and relaxing Thursday for you. Let's jump right into it, starting with today's slate. I'm actually going to start with an upset pick. I think the Lions get done this week. It seems like Jared Goff's going to play, and Goff, Dalton, probably right around the same mark if you were to put them in a QB tier. There might be a little bit more talent for Chicago, but they're battling a ton of injuries, like just about every team in the NFL. The Lions are at home, and Thanksgiving kind of adds this extra element. I think the Lions get it done. I think today is going to be the day they get their first win on the season, and kind of good feel-good story there. And Goff is a sizable upgrade over Tim Boyle, who only lost by 3 to the Browns, who were a better team than Chicago. So, if that means anything to you, that's worth talking about as well. Then we get to Dallas and the Raiders. Also, by the way, this is a good moment. My record on the season, just picking games down at the bottom of the screen, been okay, coming off a decent week. This is one of those where we go into two different directions here, where I'm going to take the Cowboys to win this one, especially at home. But 7.5, I think the Raiders will cover that. So, this is one where I'll take the Cowboys to win, but I think Vegas is able to lose within 7, basically. I know the whole Henry Ruggs situation, and that offense just hasn't been the same without that big play threat. Maybe Deshaun Jackson gets a bigger and bigger role, but even he's a guy where I feel like injuries limit how much you can actually have him on the field. Like 15, 20 snaps or so is probably about what you're going to get out of him, but maybe they can make the most out of those this upcoming week. But I do like Dallas overall to win this game. No Amari Cooper. I don't know about CD Lamb. I'm recording this on Wednesday before all the updated injury reports are flooding in. But if they have no Lamb and no Cooper, that makes me feel even better about the Raiders being able to cover this. Because we saw that offense, Michael Gallup's a really good player, and Cedric Wilson's a solid wide receiver, and they have the tight ends. They have Zeke, Pollard, yada, yada, yada. But this team, without those top 2 wide receivers, is a little different. The offense loses its big play ability in a lot of ways without those 2 studs. Despite everyone else being good, it's just not the same. So I'll take the Cowboys to win, Raiders to cover that mark. And pretty much the same thing here. The only worry about the Saints not being able to cover this number is Alvin Kamara going to play? Is Ryan Ramczyk, Teron Armstead, are they playing in this game? I think this is a bounce back spot here for the Bills, but I think this game stays pretty close. I'll say 24-20 or something like that. Buffalo gets it done on the road, so give me Buffalo to win, but I like the Saints to cover here. 6 points is just a lot. And Trevor Siemian, overall hasn't been terrible. Last week was the worst week he's had as a starter, or even if you want to lump in the game against Tampa Bay where he comes on in quote-unquote relief. Last week was his weakest showing, and he had those turnover-worthy plays where the decision-making wasn't quite there. But I think Sean Payton has the ability to kind of get him back on track, and it really comes down to trying to limit what you're asking of him. Granted, that's tough to do when Marquez Callaway is your number 1 wide receiver, right? That's where having elite wide receiver talent kind of makes things a little easier, and you have those corners you can cut. New Orleans doesn't quite have that, but they do have a great head coach, and I think Sean Payton will have his team ready to go, and I think the defense will be, playing a big factor in this one to keep it close. Then we get to the Steelers and the Bengals. I'll take Cincinnati to win and cover this mark. I don't like where this Pittsburgh team is trending. I will say Deontay Johnson balled out, and because he and then Claypool made some big plays against the Chargers, Big Ben naturally looks a little better. But this is the Steelers team that can't run the ball. The offensive line's not very good. And even the last time these two teams played in Pittsburgh, the Bengals clearly were the better team on the field. And this is a Steelers team that may or may not have Minkah Fitzpatrick. You saw them give up some big plays to the Chargers offense that has not been uber aggressive trying to push the ball down the field. So I think you might see some more busted coverages. I think if you're playing daily fantasy sports, I really like Jamar Chase in this one as well. Despite whatever his price tag is going to be, it's probably pretty steep. But I think there's going to be a lot of big plays to go around. I think Tyler Boyd's a cheaper option there for the wide receiver. He probably finds the end zone. He seems to always play well against Pittsburgh. And then on the other side, I just don't think the Steelers have the firepower to keep up with Cincinnati. I think this is going to be one where the snowball is going to get going pretty early, and the Steelers are going to have to play catch-up. And I just don't think they have what it takes to play with Cincinnati, basically. So I'll take the Bengals to win and to cover that mark. Tampa and Indianapolis here. I'm taking the Bucs to win and cover this mark. 3 points. It's actually kind of surprising this is as close as it is. Now I know Tampa Bay got back on track in a big way on Monday, but prior to that, they didn't look the same. But as the year's gone on, they're starting to get healthier, and they're finding ways to work around that defense. And this is one of the best run defenses in football, right? Like, we can't forget Vita Vea and his impact in the game, and even Ndamukong Suh, what he does, despite him being a little bit older, and then Levante David, Devin White. Those are guys who help stuff the run, and that's the strength of this Indianapolis team. So if Tampa Bay is able to limit the success Jonathan Taylor has, and specifically between the tackles, then it becomes Carson Wentz versus this Bucs defense, and specific Todd Bowles. And I like what Bowles could do, trying to scheme up pressure and force Wentz into bad situations there. So I'm taking Tampa, and I feel pretty good about them being able to win and cover that 3-point spread. Then we get to Carolina and Miami. I'm going to take the Panthers to win and cover this mark. This is a tough one. I think the Dolphins are starting to become a trendy pick as like a quote-unquote upset. I know it's only a 2-point differential in the spread, but I can see that, right? Like, this defense has looked a lot better over the last couple of weeks, and Tua has played solid. But the way I'm looking at this is Phil Snow knows how to put a lot of pressure on QBs. Remember what he did against Jameis Winston week 2? I know it was a while ago, but he made Jameis and Sean Payton look kind of dumb. Now he's getting the opportunity to put that defense up against the worst offensive line in football, one of the worst I've seen in my lifetime. And Tua, who, smaller, it takes a whole lot for him to try to push the ball down the field. He's going to try to work quick and work underneath. So I think this is going to be a game where you see Stephon Gilmore at the line of scrimmage a ton, playing a lot of that press man, and they're going to jam wide receivers, force plays to be out really, really quick due to the pressure that Phil Snow schemes up. So all that to say, I think Carolina's defense is the X factor in this one. And then on the other side, I think Cam will have just enough of an impact and be able to make enough big plays for this offense to put up the necessary points. With Cam in Carolina over the last couple of years, prior to him being cut, and I think the trend's going to continue this year, it's a roller coaster. A lot of ups, a lot of downs. And I think this is going to be one of the more up games, if you will, against Miami, despite them being on the road. Then we get to Tennessee and New England. I think the Patriots to win. This Tennessee team's got some fight in them, and it does sound like A.J. Brown's going to be able to play. That said, I think the Patriots could win by a touchdown. I just think Tennessee's really injury-riddled. What I'm most interested to see is what Mike Vrabel can do with that defense, right? We talk about Bill Belichick, and he's a defensive mastermind, but Vrabel played for the guy, right? And in a lot of ways, he comes from that Belichick tree, and he's done a fantastic job getting that defense to be better than I think a lot of us anticipated them being coming into the season. So what can Mike Vrabel do to try to counteract that New England offense? But that said, the Pats played on Thursday night last week, so they have a little bit extra rest, and they're playing good football right now. And it's one of those things where I'm going to continue to ride that positive momentum forward until I see something that shakes me and makes me think otherwise. So I think the offense continues to build upon itself. There's more and more big plays being added in by Josh McDaniels, and Mac Jones has proven to be more than capable of hitting those big plays. I know he didn't against the Falcons, the one chance they needed him to, but overall he's been really impressive this year. Another week where Damian Harris is hopefully even healthier, right, coming out of concussion protocol, and Ramondre Stevenson's been a nice addition. So all that to speak up the praise of the Patriots offense, but we know what that defense is going to do, and I think when it's just A.J. Brown and he's almost certainly not playing at 100%, the Patriots are the defense that are going to highlight the lack of depth when it comes to playmakers for this Tennessee team. So I think the Patriots win, and I honestly think they can cover this despite it being 6.5 points. Eagles, Giants, two teams heading in complete opposite directions, right? Like, you have the Giants firing Jason Garrett after being blown out on Monday Night Football. This team is heading closer and closer, and it sounds like Dave Gettleman might be canned. Like, as I'm recording this, I'm trying to keep my eyes on to see if he's going to get fired. It might be something that's done after the year. It might be done in season, but that's where this team's heading, right? They're going to a full and complete rebuild, and that's really interesting for what it means for Gettleman, Joe Judge, Daniel Jones, all that. On the other side, Philadelphia plays good football. They've found their identity. They're going to be a power run football team. They're going to use Jalen Hurts' legs and then use that to complement Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, all those weapons. And then Dallas Goedert has really taken a step forward and proven he can be a legit receiving option more than just like your ordinary tight end, right? And Devonta Smith has been as advertised, and I think him and Jalen Hurts are continuing to get better and better with their chemistry. So like where this Philadelphia Eagles team is headed, and I'm really worried about what the Giants' horizon might have in store for them. So I think the Eagles will win and cover that 3.5 point spread despite them getting that hook. I think Philadelphia honestly probably runs away with that one. Jags and Falcons. These are two teams that it's so hard to bet on, but I'm going to say the Falcons don't let me down. And a big part of that is, there was the week where Jacksonville beat Buffalo, and then they stayed kind of competitive there down the stretch with Indianapolis the week after. And a big part of when this team has not looked completely egregious is when they've been able to generate pass rush. And if they're able to do that this week against a Falcons offensive line that was absolutely exposed last Thursday against New England, then I think they got a chance to try to win this game, especially since they are at home. But I think it's going to be one of those weeks where maybe Josh Allen makes some big plays, but there's no one else really making a big impact on the defensive side of the ball for Jacksonville. So Matt Ryan has some big plays in store. Kyle Pitts there's nobody opposite of him. Like when you looked at New England, I was like, okay, that's a defense that could account for Kyle Pitts. I don't think Jacksonville really has one or even a group of guys who could try to make that happen. Additionally, I like Arthur Smith as a head coach. I know it's come with some ups and downs in year one, but I just like him more than I like Urban Meyer right now based off of what those two have put on the plate. No Thanksgiving pun intended, but put on the plate in front of us, right? I think Arthur Smith's done a better job leading his football team than Urban Meyer has so far. So I think the coaching advantage plays in a hand of this. So give me the Falcons to win and obviously cover that 1-point spread. We get to the Jets and the Texans. Man, this is a tough one. I'll take the Texans to win, I guess. I don't know if I wouldn't recommend anybody betting this game. I don't know if you're not a fan of these two teams. I don't know why you'd watch this game either. So Tyrod Taylor's better than whoever the Jets are going to roll out. So give me the better quarterback. That's the only reason I would see this. And plus, you don't have the 3.5, right? You're getting the Texans and not quite the full field goal. So I guess give me Houston to win at home and to cover that 2.5-point spread. That's a tough one. Chargers over the Broncos for sure, and especially under the field goal mark, I'll take LA to cover that mark as well. That's when I first looked at this game, it was 1.5. Now it's stretched out to 2.5. So maybe it gets up to 3.5, and maybe if it gets to 3.5, maybe I'd flip back over to Denver for talking spread. But the Chargers coming off a big win, getting back on track against Pittsburgh. And I know it wasn't necessarily all pretty, and they tried to choke the game away. They tried to charger it in the final quarter, but they're just better than Denver, right? Justin Herbert's clearly better than Teddy Bridgewater on the other side, and I think this defense for the Chargers is just going to give them fits. I mean, simply put, I think it's kind of interesting you talk about Brandon Staley and Vic Fangio, cut from the same cloth, same tree. Staley comes from the Fangio tree, so this sounds crazy to say, Patrick Herbert have the answer, right? Will he have the offense that can cook up and beat that Vic Fangio style of playing because they know it so well? But even just saying that, is Pat Shermer going to have the answer? The answer is probably not. He's not been very good as the offensive coordinator this year for Denver. So all that to say, give me the Chargers on the road. They're just a better football team right now. And, it's kind of like what we talked about with the Eagles and the Giants. Two teams heading in opposite directions, right? So 2.5 points is not enough to dissuade me away from the Chargers to cover that mark. So then we get to Green Bay and LA. Man, what a game this is shaping up to be. And there's so much riding on the line. Green Bay doesn't want to lose 2 in a row, right? The Rams have lost 2 in a row, and they just had their bye week. So you feel like Sean McVay's in a spot where he could really cook up a Green Bay defense that Kirk Cousins, 340 plus yards, 3 tutties against it. Now I know he tried to throw the ball away a couple times. Darnell Savage had a couple of opportunities with his hands in the football. I get all that, but there's still no Jair Alexander. There's still no Zadarius Smith. So I'm worried about what that Packers defense might look like against the Rams offense. And now I think with the bye week incorporating, OBJ gets a little bit easier. I'm going to go with the Rams. This was one that before the year two, in my way too early season predictions, I said this as well as the next game. These were going to be road games or upset games where I like the road team. And you see the spread here. Obviously, the Rams are no longer underdogs in this one. Before the year, they were considered to be the underdogs. And I like the Rams coming off their bye to upset Green Bay in Lambeau. Now, I anticipate Green Bay winning last week when I did that video. But, I'm going to say the Packers dropped 2 in a row. And I think this is going to be a bloodbath. And it's also, additionally, we talk about adding in OBJ. Another week of being integrated into the defensive scheme for Von Miller, right? Coming off the bye week, that's a good sign. So him, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, you like one of those 3 guys to make some big plays down the stretch if you're a Rams fan. So I'm going to take LA, but that's such a coin toss. That's a tough game. And we saw in the second half, Aaron Rodgers is tough to bet against because he'll just become a buzzsaw at any moment. That said, this was my other upset pick, right? And I talked about it in the beginning of the year. If there's a team trying to slow down that rushing attack for San Francisco, I mean, it's Minnesota, right? Michael Pierce, Dalvin Tomlinson, Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr. Those are run stoppers. And then you add into the layer that Mike Zimmer's done a good job hiding how weak that secondary really is. Like, you look at the names on paper and you're like, that secondary should get abused. But Mike Zimmer's done a great job hiding it and limiting the damage against them after the first maybe 3 weeks of the year. I'm going to go with Minnesota upset win on the road. Kirk Cousins, I think, could have a big game against that pretty bad San Francisco secondary, who, D'Amico Ryans hasn't had as much success as Mike Zimmer is hiding that poor secondary group. So give me Minnesota on the run or on the road. And I think the rushing attacks for both these sides for that contradiction or that statement kind of slipped up there. I think the running games in both these offenses are really interesting. Who is better built to try to stop that? And I think Minnesota might be. I don't know. That's just the way I saw it coming into the season, and I'm going to stick by this upset pick. So give me the Vikings on the road and the 3 points you're giving to them. Ravens and Browns, I've said it a couple times now, two teams heading in opposite directions. And, if it's injured Baker Mayfield, I'm having a hard time trusting him at the helm and under center leading that offense. I can't buy into that. So, Ravens, I presume we're going to have Lamar Jackson back. And if they can beat the Bears on the road with Tyler Huntley, I'd like Lamar Jackson at home, and I think they can cover this 4-point spread. Cleveland's had a tough go at it. Granted, if there is going to be a game where they snap back to quote unquote reality, or they just kind of figure themselves out, it feels like a division game might be the catalyst for that. So this could be the week where Cleveland refines themselves, rediscovers their identity. And if that's the case, this game is a whole lot more interesting. But as it stands right now, I'll take the Ravens at home to cover the 4 points. And then Monday Night Football, man, this is a tough one. The Seattle defense is so bad that I feel like they're gonna inevitably give up big plays, right? So I guess give me Washington. I can't believe I'm taking Taylor Heineke over Russell Wilson, but Russ just hasn't looked the same since coming back from the Mallet finger. And outside of him, there's just not enough talent to go around, right? You have the 2-star wide receivers, and then that's the offense. They've had a hard time establishing the run, and the offensive line hasn't been very good. So given how bad the Seahawks defense is, I think they're going to be giving up big plays to Terry McLaurin, who I think, on prime time is primed to have a big game with a lot of people watching. And, I don't think you'll get the same Taylor Heineke you saw last week, which was definitely the high end of his variance. But I think he overall might be able to exploit Seattle's defense more than Russell Wilson can against, on paper, a very talented Washington defense. So I can't believe I'm taking Washington, but I'm going to take the Washington football team at home over Seattle. Not something I would have anticipated saying, 12 weeks ago, but here we are. But that's going to do it for my picks for Week 12 of the NFL season. Tell me what you think down in the comment section. Where am I crazy? Do you think I'm spot on with some of these upsets? Love to have your thoughts down in the comment section. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit that like button. It helped me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, want to see more football content like what you saw, hit that big red subscribe button. Once again, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Until next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.